Okay, folks, good morning. See if we can find where this was at, more or less. Something like that. Okay. All right, back where we left off. Yeah, we can't use these. We need to get more zoomed in there. We're prepping some of these palm trees. With the wash here. And we have 20 or so to do. Lots of roughage left over here from the fronds. Good morning, Ben. What's happening? What happened? I have a banker's what do you call it? Banker's holiday, bank holiday. That's what it is. See here, a bank holiday, only the banks would take off. I guess a bank holiday in Britain, everybody takes off. Or it's a more common thing, but Monday we have Labor Day, which of course ironically means you don't work. Whatever, you can call it whatever you want, I'll just stay home that day. How about that? Call that day whatever the hell you want. Haven't been doing any of this through the week. In the week, work has just been a struggle to go to it every day. Probably understatement, but okay. Just gonna go ahead and trim all these pieces. I think I need a new one of these. Not the whole thing, just a blade. Let's see. Well, the blades aren't where they're supposed to be. Damn it, man. I'm not going to throw it away just yet. Say something that will crack you up. I'll post it below, okay? You saw something that will crack me up, okay? Telling a guy from 1900, we have a nuclear-powered capital ships that weigh 100,000 tons, and he gets excited and asks me how big their main guns are. And I choke up and look away. I know. It's kind of sad. Kind of sad. Now I just read that the U.S. is getting rid of all their cruisers. Let's just have a bunch of fucking drones now and play Call of Duty. Call of Duty were drone strikes. Yeah, I'm all about the battleships. And it's mainly because, if you're talking about naval warfare, aircraft carriers can avoid a surface battle, right? Which happened frequently. It happened frequently in the Pacific. And what's the point in battleships if you can't have a surface battle? You know, oh, they're just an AA platform. Well, just build a bunch of Atlanta-class cruisers if you want an AA platform. And everything serves a purpose. So, you know, it would be like if you played DBA and they created some new troop class that basically could render knights useless. Knights don't get to fight if this other thing gets into action. It's like it just screws up the whole balance of everything. You know? That's really what it is. Because I like the big ships. That doesn't mean I don't like the little ships, but I like the big ships. Because the big ships have history, personality. And there's this big equalizer called torpedoes that the smallest ships have that can equalize everything. What did I do the other day? Well, I ended up playing War Thunder so much, I ended up getting a premium account for a little bit amount of time. And I got all my British planes, all my tier 1 British planes unlocked. And start grinding the Brits. Yeah, that game's a lot of fun because I got somebody that I know that I can talk to while I'm playing the game. Just random people, it just wouldn't be the same thing. But and I'm learning a lot about aircraft. Not that I'm ignorant of aircraft. I just, I don't know all the intricacies. Planes I never even heard of before. Soviet BB-1. What the hell is that? Poor man's SU-2. That's something to do. I get this off the table so I can finish my P-40. Yeah, what I don't understand is when people that really get into and there aren't many, because there aren't many people that are super into naval warfare. I mean, I've encountered a few, but I haven't encountered too many people that are really into sailing ships. Because the thing with sailing ships is they all look the same. If you're talking about Napoleonic sailing ships, they basically look the same. I mean, they look more like that a Sherman M4A1 and a Sherman M4A4. They're more like than those two things. And it's like, well, they might as well be the same damn thing, Was it one of those where they did a crossover with those anime girls based on World War II ships? Might have been a different Chinese game. That's World of Warships. World of Warships does those, is it Chinese or Japanese? I don't know. Yeah, it's stupid. You can play those games and put a camouflage or buy a camouflage that is ridiculous. But I wouldn't be able to live with myself to do that. I unlocked the other day. What was it? The USS North Carolina, and a lot of the ships give you you can earn certain camouflage schemes after doing certain things, or get them as gifts, or and unlock in the crates or whatever. You just do shit and you get stuff handed to you. Okay, well, this is kind of cool. And some ships have a custom camouflage scheme that goes with the ship, and some of them do not. And if it has a custom one that goes with it, it's usually historical. It always is historical. And I'll put those on there. But if it isn't, like the USS North Carolina, it just comes in an overall Battleship Gray. I found that there's other schemes you can add that, they do weird shit. Like they do one for Halloween with jack-o'-lanterns, and they do one that's all like for St. Patrick's Day that's like all green, and they do, plus they do like, some Italian Navy ones, and something that looks kind of like Western approaches, and some that look like Crazy Quilt and stuff like that. So I found one that looked kind of like a measure 32 for the USS North Carolina. So when I ran the North Carolina, she had that scheme on it because, it just looks appropriate. But I think I got something, I was doing some anniversary thing where they were, all you had to do is do these tasks in a certain amount of time. And I got a camouflage scheme for the Battleship Nagato that made it look like a Japanese castle. Well, I don't have the Nagato yet, but when I do, I'm going to put that on and go, this is ridiculous, and then take it off. Yeah, I'm just not going to run stuff like that. And same thing with the War Thunder. I think you can do. You can create your own paint schemes on your planes, and I don't do things that are inappropriate that don't go with it. What's the point? What's the point with it? But both games do hypothetical stuff. So in other words, things like the mouse, okay? There's a lot of things like the mouse that they're on the blueprints, and they were made to a certain extent, and the fact that they didn't go into battle was because the war ended too soon, or this, that, or the other. That stuff's fair game. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I'd have a bigger problem with, all those games, if you got American stuff and Japanese stuff and German stuff and Italian things all on the same team fighting another, French, American, Italian, German on the other side. So if you can get over that, which you have to because every game has that kind of stuff in it, then the rest is easy. But it's something to do, It's really interesting because there's, aircraft are kind of three-dimensional. They're like an extra dimension because, there's a couple things I think that video games have brought to light about when you're talking about like realism of combat in games. And one of them, the first thing that came across, or really, I said that wrong. Video games were one of the first things that came in they've added these things that I think are kind of unique to video games, but not to reality. The first one is this thing that's affectionately known as a bullet sponge. And that's where you can be playing some game like The Division. That's a pretty, realistic game, whatever. It's a first-person shooter, but then you've got these bosses that can soak up an absurd amount of damage. Well, they have to do that or basically make it so that, one kill from them, they breathe in the wrong direction and you're dead kind of thing. So that's kind of like a balance thing. But bullet sponges and having somebody that's a tank, I never experienced anything like that until I played World of Warcraft for a few months in 2005. I'd never heard of a tank. Some guy soaks up all the damage but can't dish it out very well. I'm like, well, why is he the fucking warrior, right? Because traditionally, warriors for me are like, that's the guys who hit the hardest. No, not a tank. A tank just sits there and takes it. I'm not saying he's a weakling, but that's not his primary thing. So I'd never encountered that before. The other thing I had never encountered before with World of Tanks is this whole business of angling your freaking armor. Okay, so traditionally you're playing some kind of a game and you got two tanks firing at each other. You want to make sure they're front to front, not this 37.5 degrees, this kind of Like, that's just, that's new. I've never experienced that before. And I really don't think, I could be wrong, I really don't think people went around in World War II and go like, we want our front to the enemy. Well, actually, we don't want the front to the enemy. We want to be off like 17.5 degrees, so it's a deflecting. No, I think they did hull down stuff and they did front of the enemy, and the rest of it is just, that's it. So that's that weird, that other angle is, I don't know, it's new. Maybe all those games that they had, way back when, they never take that into effect. A movie recommendation, Korean film called The Fortress. Why does that sound familiar? The Qing invasion Korea, watched it last night. I thought it was excellent. That's not the one where there's the Korean girl that turns into a zombie, right? Fighting zombies and she's actually infected. There's a zombie tiger in that one. Mitch liked that. Oh, this is a great movie. And it's basically like this heroine ends up being infected, and she wants to get payback on the country that she's fighting. So she basically, like, I forget exactly, either befriends them or gets infected and basically brings about the zombie apocalypse just to pay back, like, whatever country she was with. And I'm like, I don't want to see this. This is stupid, Like, the zombie tiger was good, was cool, but it wasn't in for a very large part of the film. You never side with zombies, sorry. It's just not one of those deals, like. The Fortress, I've heard it before. It doesn't have all that, what's that stuff, wire fu stuff in it? Which actually, the Indian stuff is actually worse than wire fu, whatever that's called. What's the Indian ridiculous fighting? There's got to be a name for that. The Mumbai Massacre, I don't know. Something will start off as a serious movie and they'll have one of those things. There's some movie I was watching, it might have been a clip. There's something like this big battle, like, all right, they're going to fight this big battle in India. We'll get ideas to how to paint our guys, paint our figures. And next thing you know, this guy gets launched into a cannon. He gets put in a cannon and fired out to the other enemy. He's like freaking superhero or whatever. And he like single-handedly takes out like, 1,000,000 people or something. You've got to be kidding me. This one historical, no supernatural stuff. No weird martial arts, quite grounded. Okay. The Fortress. I want to say I could even see what the title face of it looks like. I can picture it. Isn't there also a Fortress movie? Is there something called like The Fortress or something like that I have seen that's about the fortress at Brest-Litovsk when the Germans invade? And of course it's a Russian movie, and every Russian there's a badass, and every Russian's a badass. It used to be that, you're talking about the German invasion of Russia. It used to be like basically every Russian was an idiot. And the Germans were all the smart ones, but somehow they lost. That used to be the prevalent thing. And then you watch all this modern stuff, and all the Russians were all badass. So why are they, why they lose 8 times as many people? But apparently the Russian planes aren't that bad. You know, you hear about these Russian planes, these early war 1941 Russian planes. You think, oh, they're terrible. You know, they just got killed in droves. Well, I think they just got caught on the ground, and the guys didn't have experience, and the Russian spare parts industry in the early 1940s was worse than the German supply situation. The German supply situation was pretty bad, just with spare parts at a million different models, and the Russian one was worse. I think once they got that out of their system, and they're only manufacturing a couple things. But even all the way until the end of the war, the Germans could get air superiority on the Eastern Front in select areas. You know, obviously as the war went on, that was a little bit more selective, but they just went in. You know, they wouldn't have air control over 90% of the Russian front, but the Russian front's so damn big that they can go and, you know, what we got to do is one operation. All right, well, let's clear this area. Of course, they'll lose everywhere else, you know, but flying some of these Russian planes, the Russian planes aren't bad. They aren't bad at all, actually. And one thing was really deceiving is the number of machine guns. Because you look at some of these Russian planes, you're like, it's only got 2 machine guns, and the Germans got like 4. Like, that's a no-win situation. Well, the rate of fire on the machine guns is dramatically different. You know, I ended up some plane I had 4 machine guns, and then improvement was 2. And I'm like, how can this be an improvement? Well, they fire 3 times as fast. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize that. So you start put down like a wall of flame. I'm like, holy cow. That's kind of interesting. Actually, one of the first planes you end up getting in the game is that Russian biplane that I already built. I already built it. I got to rig it with this stuff. Hopefully, if I don't give up on it. I don't know about the rigging in between the wings, but that thing has 4 machine guns, and I'm like, I don't remember them having any. They must be hidden in the cowling or something like that. Soviet air situation is strange considering they're the first to adapt paratroopers. I guess they only really plan on beating up on weaker neighbors or very small air forces. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how the communists think. You know, strength in numbers. Yeah, they had really modern stuff, and then, you know, not modern ways of, they'll have like, they either wouldn't have radios or they'd have radios that only could receive, not receive and send, you know. Like, I want you to take orders, but I don't want to hear your shit. I don't mind playing Soviet stuff. I don't like Chi-Com stuff though. There's nothing interesting to me about Chi-Com things. Chinese stuff that's ancient or medieval or stuff like that. Yep. Modern Chinese stuff, you can have that. You can get your TMU ass the hell out of here. Yeah, if they didn't have this flash, this stuff would be incredible looking. Good morning, Mr. Barnes. Got these little ones to do, and then we'll wash all these, and then while that's dry, we'll go back to the bamboo. These don't take a long time to dry, but we won't be able to get to them in this session. But yeah, I've been playing out with Don. My least favorite thing is actually, believe it or not, the tanks. The tanks are pretty stressful. And just think about it this way. You're playing, we'll call it a simulator, right? And you basically have naval stuff, you got aircraft, and you got tanks. And the problem is that when you're playing tanks, you're just exhausted because you're constantly moving your mouse around. You're constantly moving your turret. You're constantly doing stuff. You never have a moment where you just chill with the mouse. With a plane, yeah, it's intense, but it's not intense all the time. And when you're behind somebody, it's not that intense. You're not doing that many moves. I mean, you can only move so much when you're on a plane, and if you're chasing that plane, you can only move that amount too. Like if you move more than that, then you end up like, overshooting them and stuff. And with the ships, it's kind of calm as well, but really actually the plane is actually the most calm one. You don't come back with like, that kind of stuff. But the tanks is too intense. And the tanks is, like I told Don, the tanks is no fun to play by yourself. I started a game last weekend with them, and we had 3 tanks, and I forget what we were playing. Maybe German tanks. I don't remember. Panzer IIIs or something. I don't. It's irrelevant what tanks you are. Because I like playing them all, except the Chi-Com stuff. So him and his son and I are both playing, and you can see where you are on the map. And here's this map of you're in some town in Poland, which you shouldn't even be. I used to have a flight stick back in '99 when I had my first computer, but it's analog anyways, and they make a conversion for it. And I was actually looking for it the other day. I couldn't find it. I don't think I'm going to buy one because there's basically 3 levels of play. There's arcade. There's what they call arcade. They call simulation, realistic, and then they call simulation. And depending on which one you play, it's that much more difficult. And depending on which one you play, like for instance, if you play simulation, you only get 1 life. You go in with 1 plane, and when it's over, if the session lasts 30 minutes, you're out. When you're out, you're out. Okay? Arcade, you have ammo. When you run out of ammo, there's a reset time of like 20 seconds, and then you get free ammo again, even if you're flying. Okay, it's hokey. It's something to do, right? You grind and you get other planes and stuff like that. It's just part of it being that. Otherwise, you have to, you shoot 200 rounds, you got to go back to base, you got to land and all that kind of stuff. Whatever. It's a game, at the end of the day. Some people just play the game. I use it for motivation, like learn about real stuff, and like, eventually like, hey, I want to build that model. And like, okay, well, let's fly it or whatever. The flight stick, I've heard, is only useful at the highest realistic setting because you will get shot down by people that do the mouse aim. Because the mouse you're really accurate with a mouse. I mean, even I'm really accurate with a mouse. And it's totally flyable with a mouse. I mean, I remember way back in the 1990s, what was the name of that game? Was it Lucasfilm? I think it was Lucasfilm. It wasn't Microprose. Lucasfilm did this video game. This is even before Aces Over Europe and Aces of the Pacific and stuff like that. There was this game called, it was just called Battle of Britain. And you could play Germans and British. And I played with a mouse at the old 386 computer. And to turn, you literally had to do this. So I'd put a table in front of me, a little TV table, and I would, and you would move with a mouse that had a ball, and you would move like this. And, it played good enough. I didn't use the keyboard to fly. I'm already getting carpal tunnel thinking about that. But, yeah, I don't have a flight stick, but still need to try that World War II tank sim still free. Well, the cool thing about those games is you can play for free. You can play a game for free, realize you hate it, and you never bought anything for it. You know, that's what I think a free game is good. Like, I don't like this. Let me just return it. You know, whatever. You know, but I'll be honest with you. I would not be playing War Thunder if Don had not taught me the ropes. And it's not taught me the ropes of how to fly a plane or pilot a tank. It's when you get to a menu, there's all these different things you can do, and you know, there's orders to do them so you're not inefficient. And you don't know that unless you're talking to somebody who's played the game for a long time. It's not very user friendly in that respect. You know, if you play like, I don't know how if World of Tanks is this way anymore, as I haven't played it in a long time. But World of Warships, at least World of Warships Legend, you don't have to select, hey, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to select that. You just do stuff, okay? And as you do stuff, you can go in there and figure out, okay, you need to do this at this time, and if you get this many hits, this happens, right? But you don't have to physically select, I want to do these three things. And if you're accomplishing other things, but you didn't select them, it doesn't do you any good. World of Warships Legends on the console is really handy from that standpoint, that like you just do stuff and you unlock things and you get rewards and stuff. You know, so in that respect, it's a lot more user friendly. And then, you know, after a while, after you play the game for, you know, a few days, you figure out how to be more efficient at it. But stuff with like War Thunder, man, it's like impossible to figure out, you know, what you can do. And those guys don't give away shit. You know, I've played World of Warships Legends. I don't know. I just looked the other day. I started playing in 2019. I haven't played it much except the last 2 years, probably. And I don't know. I got like 100 ships and, you know, didn't buy any of them. And I got a premium account and didn't pay for a premium account. I'm just unlocking stuff. You know, I'm like, okay, I had to do this and that. I get 3 days premium. And you do it every morning. And you eventually play the game at the, you know, at the efficiency level, like the people that pay. And you know, it's expensive. You figure, oh well, I'm just going to get a premium account for a week. It costs you like $15. That's kind of expensive, you know, for something that, you know, after a week you don't have anything to show for it. Like you just go back to just being a pleb, you know. But they've got this the War Thunder. I didn't realize it had this. It has this. This is how complicated it is. I've been playing it fairly dedicated for the last 2 weeks. And there's all kinds of stuff there I didn't know that was there. Like they have the whole campaigns where you could do like Pearl Harbor and stuff like that. And yeah, it's hokied out. I mean, there's some, you know, it is a game at the end of the day. But you know, you could do like sequential things, like different missions and stuff like that, and unlocking different things that are just you against the computer. You know, they got a Battle of Britain one and several Soviet operations, and but you know, you get these planes, you unlock planes, and then or tanks or ships or whatever, and then you get a basic level, and you have to spend experience points in it trying to level them up. And I asked Don, I said, well, here's the thing I don't like about the game, is the real version of the ship or plane or ship built out? Because he's like, oh, these guys are real, they're always crunching all the data and stuff like that. Now, okay, I can appreciate that if it's done correctly, but you know, you're talking about this, you get this plane, and then you start adding all these compressors and this stuff on there. Okay, is the end result the real, is the plane how it's supposed to be? Or do you get a dumbed out, and you get a dumbed out version and you eventually like build to the final plane? Or you start with like a final plane and then you add other stuff to, you know, basically turn up a swordfish into a Spitfire, to use an example. And he's like, no, the final result is the real plane. And what I started realizing is almost all the planes at their basic level are just crap. They really are. They don't fly really well or whatever. And you get something in like, you know, even something that I wouldn't say is a very good plane. You know, like one of these Soviet ground attack aircraft, that BB-1, which is a plane you never heard of. It's a predecessor of the Su-2, which was historically not a good plane. You know, you can fly okay in it, It's pretty reasonable. So got all the Brits done. We got all our Gloucester Gladiators and all that stuff. So we're gonna start grinding towards the, But I like it because you learn about real shit. Like I didn't know that there was a hurricane that had 12, 30 cows in it. Like news to me. I thought 8 was the limit. So don't have it yet. We'll be grinding this morning with the Brits. But you could put decals and stuff on there, and play a certain number of games, and you unlock a paint scheme that they use for North Africa on it, and that kind of shit. I had some P40s I unlocked. One of them didn't have a tiger shark mouth, so I put a tiger shark mouth on it. You can do some decals on it, to a certain degree. All the German planes, none of them have the crooked spiders, which just kind of seem like they're just missing something. I mean, not like I'm a big fan of that crooked spider thing, but it's part of the look of the plane. And War Thunder is a decent game, a fun arcade game. Yeah, yeah. The realistic level's okay too. I wish there wasn't so much. What do you call it? HUD. I wish there wasn't so much HUD stuff. Like you can immediately identify whether the plane is enemy or friendly or and what it is. But anyways, as you go up in difficulty level, there's less people playing it, which means it takes longer to start a game. So unfortunately, it means most people are playing arcade, which is hokey to a degree. But at least you're not spending around a lot of time just sitting around waiting on a game. But I go to the model meeting, and I'm the only one that plays with the models that I build. I go to play war games. I'm frequently one of the only person that even builds models and paints figures. Most people are there just to play a game. And you play arcade games, you play video games, and I'm one of the few people that does all three things. So I do it as it's just part of like getting excited about this stuff. Like I said, I played that stupid cards game, and it got me excited about doing the Pacific stuff because the art on those cards is beautiful. I was playing with Don the other day. He zipped up. He zipped up because he wanted to play at this higher level, and I told him, I said, I want to unlock all the bottom things and then work my way up, because you can't appreciate a hurricane until you've flown a Fury or Gloucester Gladiator to see how they're different. The Japanese. So he hasn't played like hardly any of the Japanese planes, and because I was starting out, I'm like, let's just play the Japanese. Let's just play the Japanese, and man, I had some great games with the Oscar. And I mean, you look at the Oscar, it's like it's got a 30 cal machine gun and a 50 cal machine gun. 12.7 and a 7.7. Like that's a piece of shit. I said, yeah, but they fire fast, and man, it's a decent. It is a fun plane to fly. It is a fun plane to fly. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Always, I'm like, all right, I want to get a Japanese plane when I go to the on October 11th when I go to the next. I think it's called Model Palooza. It's being held at the same hotel that Huracan and Recon are at in Kissimmee. Coincidentally enough, but that's why I want to build this airfield, because I could put a Japanese plane on it, or a P-40 or a P-47. So I don't mind jumping around between working on models, painting stuff, and playing video games, but I don't want to okay, when you're jumping around with that, all right, we're also doing stuff the Russian front. Like, no, we gotta cut this down, because it's honestly been hard finding motivation to do this during the middle of the week. My workload is just, the stress level at work is just out of control. So, but it's a long weekend, so we should have a Monday morning show too for you retirees. Watch as a modeling wargaming sim gamer mostly shows up as a neighbor, but he is Maoist. Okay, let me try to read it. Watch. Watch as a modeling wargaming sim player shows up as a neighbor. You're thinking I'll get a neighbor like that, but he's a Maoist. No, we don't allow Maoists in this fucking town. They'd probably get lynched. This is a redneck town. And it would be just as bad as if you get somebody who's, pro Third Reich. I question that any of those people really exist, but, I actually haven't played the German stuff much. Like, you know, everybody wants to play German shit. I'm like, all right, well, that's kind of makes me not want to play it, you know? Italians, I got my Italian. I need to finish building my Italians up, but that BA-65, man, I had a lot of fun playing that BA-65. And they don't have a problem putting those fascist roundels on the planes. It's just a crooked spider, which I understand. I understand why they don't do that, right? But it just looks like they're missing something. You did get some people flying around though that have these questionable handles, and they really should write them down. Some of them are funny, some of them are really funny, and they're double entendre-ish. And I don't necessarily mean that. I mean, can you have a double entendre that's not provocative? They all have many have double meanings, and I really like that. But then you got all these ones that have all the 420 shit. I'm like, all right, high as a kite. And then you got these guys with a couple of guys. I don't know if they were being watched by the Chi-Coms or whatever, but they have these extremely pro Chi-Com names. And I don't mean just using other characters, because if they're other characters, well, I don't know what they mean, because I didn't understand that script. But, yeah, it said something in favor of... something pro-Maoist. I'm like, gotta shoot those guys down first. Oh, there are national Bolsheviks around. Strangest ideology around. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think my handle is tied in with my Xbox handle because I created my account first on the Xbox. That's tied into the limits of the handle on the Xbox. Like, so I can't have one that's like super freaking long, because it'd be pretty fun to have some kind of handle like that yellow bastard or something like that. Who'd you get shot down by some yellow bastard? What's up, Hoffman? Well, I made it to, Lieutenant, that first level of the silver. Man, it was a struggle this time. And I'm not playing any more games. I'm just waiting out to get the 2 card packs. Wait till the next season. But yeah, really enjoyed playing those Japanese planes. Those Oscars, man. Those Oscars are just, they're great. And the other thing the game does really well is something you don't and this is what I was talking about, that third dimension with aircraft is you'll have things like firepower, durability, speed, maneuverability, right? There's your aircraft. Regardless of pilot quality, you have all that as well. And if you play anything that has aircraft in it, any playing games that have aircraft in them, not at a simulator level, you have things that have the crew quality of the plane worked into its ability, so to speak. So that's why if you have something that you're playing that's like maybe a game like Luftwaffe or something like that. I've never played Luftwaffe, but I guess Luftwaffe would be like the Panzer Leader equivalent of air combat, right? So it's got some crew quality somehow mixed in there. The German planes are really, really good. But I don't know that it's because the German planes are actually that good. I think it's that you're dealing with guys that were good pilots and they had a shitload of experience, you know? So, because a Messerschmitt isn't a terrible plane, but there's a lot of things it's not good at. And I haven't found out firsthand because I haven't unlocked very many. I haven't unlocked very many of them, so we'll find that out. I got a lot of Messerschmitts to build. Several of them will be crashed on the ground or crumpled on the ground, more likely. But I mean, I like the way Messerschmitts look. They're wicked looking. But there's that thing if you're playing something other than a simulator level that the built-in, if you're talking about German planes in 1941, the Germans have really good experience with their pilots. So that's a factor in some of those games. Oh, look, a little slice that doesn't even hurt. Well, we'll see what will bleed. I'm going to bleed all over everybody. That's only the third time I've cut myself. Let's see if I can make it a fourth here. And, but there's this other thing that you talk about it and they read about it and you don't really, there's two other things. There's two other things when it comes to aircraft that gets forgotten about. Or at least I've forgotten about it in the past. And that is when it's coming into aircraft. And that is different performances at different altitudes. And different performances regarding the maneuverability at speed. So for instance, I was flying a P-36 and a P-40. A P-40. A P-40, which one of my favorite planes. It's funny. I do have favorite planes. I have more favorite planes than I have favorite tanks. I kind of like all tanks about the same. I definitely have favorite planes. But anyhow, P-40's first model ever built. I got a soft spot for it. I unlocked the P-40 in the game. And the P-40 can get going. It can dive pretty well. But when it's diving, when you're going about over 300 miles an hour, and you try to turn, it turns like the Bismarck with no rudder. You can't turn with it. You try to pull, you just can't. You got to bleed some of that speed off. It just does not behave well. And likewise, some planes, like I was flying in an Oscar at treetop level because that's what the furball ended up turning into. The game can be however realistic you want. There's going to be an aspect of gaminess to it, no matter what. One of the modes you play is kind of like a capture the flag. So you have these airfields, which there's usually 3 of them on when there's a board for that, and you have to capture them. Well, how do you capture an airfield with aircraft? Well, you actually put your landing gear down, do a touchdown, do basically like a rolling landing. You do a touch and go, basically. You have to, as you land, you can see a little cursor changing to your side's thing. And when it fills up, you can take off again. You've now captured it. You have to keep the other side from doing that. So you're going to have some hokiness to it at some point, all right? So the battles usually are under 3,000 feet, almost constantly. Most of the battles are under 3,000 feet. And a lot of battles under 1,000 feet. So you're doing a lot of treetop level stuff. And the Oscars are just superb at that. The Oscar's like under 1,000 feet, or really under 500 feet, going about 150 miles an hour, 120 to 170 miles an hour. They're maneuverable as hell. They're really, really maneuverable as hell, and like a pleasure. But again, those games are fun to play when you know somebody. When you're talking to them on the phone, you can go, "Hey, what do you want to do?" I don't know. There's that one guy going off the field, so we ended up like chasing. We were in a couple of Ki-45s playing the Japanese, which is like a Me-110, but with shitty guns to the front. Because an Me-110 can put out a lot of fire to the front. The Ki-45 has like one. The early Ki-45 has like 120 millimeter cannon. That's it. The fire's slow, or it might even be a 37. It's like almost has like no guns, and you got a rear gunner or whatever. And it's got these weird guns so you can fire at the belly of a bomber, but not really useful as a heavy fighter. So we're trying to get the experience of these things up so we can kind of improve. There's some guy that's going off the field, so we chase him down, and he goes off the field, and we're like, man, that guy's just away from keyboard or something. I don't know exactly what's going on with that guy, but he's flying off the one corner. Like, let's go back to the airfield. So we come back, and the Ki-45 is pretty damn fast, and we're in an area where we're of the maneuverability of the plane, sheer luck, and a little bit of skill that I have. I proceed to shoot 8 planes down in a row. Now it wasn't like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was a fur ball. I don't know how somebody didn't crash into me because that happens really frequently, but nobody crashed into each other, and I shot down 8 planes. Well, that was my finest glory. But noob players, some people just get tunnel vision or whatever. I just got lucky, but that Oscar was on fire. That Oscar was on fire. So I'm like, well, now I got to build an Oscar. But you look at the stats of an Oscar and you go, okay, 150 caliber machine gun, 130 cal. That's a piece of shit. I said, yeah, but the problem is that those guns fire really, 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 really fast. And you got stuff where if guns are on top of each other, they're basically all in a line of fire. If you got guns on a wing, they've got to like converge. There's all kinds of stuff that you don't think about until you're put in the driver's seat. And it's cool because, you're learning about shit, And unlike probably most people, I like to be challenged about what I know. Oh, you think you know about Tiger tanks? Well, really, what about this about them? Like, I didn't know that about it. Like, I like finding out stuff that I've been wrong about for a long time. Because this World War II stuff has been a journey. I mean, there's stuff available now that 30 years ago we didn't have access to. And some people just want to continue being a wereaboo or thinking the Sherman tank is the worst tank ever and stuff like that. But, there's a lot of cool stuff that we didn't know any better. Or, nobody had an idea of that. It's just really interesting. Like I said, aircraft is really my weakest point. But the model group, they're definitely heavy on the aircraft. More than anything else. I think most model groups are that way. There's just something about building model planes. I think almost everybody's built model planes as a kid. They may not have built model tanks. But the altitude things too. You get some of those planes that are really good at low altitude. You get up high and they're sluggish. No, the Oscar was an army plane. There are some few exceptions, but most of the Japanese planes were either Army or Navy. And as a general rule, the Navy planes were significantly better than the Army equivalent. They were faster, I think they had a longer range. It makes sense that they would. Were more maneuverable, better armed. The Oscar was basically the standard Zero for the Army. It looks like a Zero, but has like a longer tail. It's more front heavy. The Zero itself pretty balanced looking. The Oscar is more front heavy, has a thinner tail, what have you. The Zero, and there's lots of different versions of these planes. So, even with, something like a P-51 or whatever. There's all kinds of different armaments, but the standard Zero had two 230 caliber machine guns, always used in. I guess I probably shouldn't use caliber and millimeters, but it had two 7.7s and two 20 millimeter cannons. I think it had two 20s, but it only had like 60 rounds ammo for the 20 millimeter cannon. So once you're out of those 60 rounds ammo, it's over. And the Oscar had one 7.7 and a 12.7. Now, there are other versions that eventually replace both of them, so now they have two 12.7s. But at the end of the day, the Oscar is less well armed than the Zero. But the Japanese planes are really maneuverable. But they also, didn't have any armor, didn't have self-sealing fuel tanks, that kind of stuff. So they're lightly built compared to the Americans, and the Americans are more robust than most planes. Yeah, the Ki-43. And the Ki-43-2 is a great plane. Oh my God, it's a good plane. I didn't know that until I got in one. I mean, I played Aces Over the Pacific. I hated those planes. They were so lightly armed. Of course, that wasn't probably a very realistic game, but I remember grinding to get the Tony. Got to get the Tony. Got to get the KI, whatever the hell it is. I don't know the KI, whatever. The game actually doesn't call them by the nicknames. There's actually no reference in War Thunder to any of the nicknames. So, like, I'm flying this plane. I'm like, what the hell is this plane? I'm like, oh, it's a Mary. Like, the first ground attack aircraft you get is a Mary, which is a Japanese Army ground attack aircraft, which is just not very good. Or it's definitely not very good, not built out. And then, eventually you get better. Like, what's the bomber is this? Oh, this is a Sally, that kind of stuff. I don't know their designations. I don't know that I'll ever will. But I guess just constantly being exposed to it. But what the hell is a Tony? A Tony is a KI something or other. 60 something, I want to say. Anyways, I remember Aces of Pacific. That thing was underarmed and sluggish. It was like a sluggish Messerschmitt. Poor man's Messerschmitt. But it's a ways up the tier to get one of those. So, but just like tanks, I like things what they look like, regardless of whether or not the best thing. Otherwise, it'd be like, oh, everybody'd be building Spitfires and P-51s, and it wouldn't do anything else. And, King Tiger tanks, and Ki-61. Good looking plane. Did I get it right, by the way? I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm spitballing. Okay, I know it's not an even number. I was in one of my car groups, and there was this guy that had a picture of his car. He had a WRX like I do, a silver one, and he had markings on it, and it looked really cool. You actually probably would appreciate this. And it was, and he had markings, and I recognized it, and it was markings that he had put on his car that were reminiscent of one of the fighter groups that the Japanese used. Had like this zigzag, had like this zigzag, or it was like there's like this arrow that was in a, that's right, it was a curved arrow that came around the tail. It was like blue, like a French blue, like, and it looked really good. And I was like, I recognized it immediately. I'm like, oh, that's something like a Frank would have or something like that. So I sent the guy a message. I said, I know what that is, and I sent him a picture of the plane. It took me literally a second to find it. I thought it was pretty cool that he did that. I mean, I don't want to, I'm not 19 years old anymore. That's, uh, let's see if I can find this. I probably won't. I probably won't. I probably won't be able to find it now. But it was pretty cool that he did that. I'm like, I recognize that immediately. I've never built a Japanese plane. Yep. We'll be doing one of them soon. More of this shit. And then we'll have to let this dry, and then we'll go back to the bamboo. Till we run out of steam. Before we start grinding some Brits today. Yeah, I didn't know there was a hurricane with 12, 30 cows. Like, wow. That's a lot. But a lot of it depends on rate of fire. I got the Russian biplane, which is coincidentally the one I have a model of, an I-15. Actually, it's the I-153. The I-153 just looks like an unassuming little biplane, and it's got four 7.62 machine guns that fire 1,900 rounds per minute. Now I don't know why the hell the army didn't have machine guns like that in the Soviet army, because their light machine gun in the Soviet army is not very good. It's not horrible, but it's not nothing. The DP is nothing to write home about. 1,900 rounds per minute. That makes an MG42 seem slow. Anyways, you got four of those things. When it opens up, it's like a flamethrower. It's like a flamethrower of shrapnel. It is really impressive. You get somebody that's a couple hundred yards away from them, and they're basically toast. Ended up ordering some Japanese tanks. Ordered them from UK a day before the minimus kicked in. Hope your package doesn't get stuck. So yeah, I've heard a couple people complaining about that on Facebook recently. So what's going on? Did we make the bat? Not my fault. That's not the kind of, I understand the need for some tariffs, but all countries have tariffs, but not on our wargaming shit, and certainly not on England. There shouldn't be any tariffs between the UK and England. Like, what's wrong with you? You know? Anyways, nobody asked me. So, because it used to be that whole VAT thing, like, we don't pay that. But I'm not going to be ordering anything anytime soon, so. What Japanese tanks did you get? Remember, if you want to build one, it's one thing. If not, there's that guy here in the States here that does all the 3D printing for me, and he does great work. And he has access to a lot of Japanese stuff. There was no tariffs on small packages less than 800, okay, which is anything I would order, okay? But China was taking advantage of that and was getting around tariffs, so the government ended it. Why don't they just put on stuff that originates in China? I know, because they probably ship their things to England and then get in through England somehow. And you know they would do that too, right? Well, I've ordered stuff from AliExpress a couple times and not had a bad experience with it. I've not ordered anything from the Tim Youth place, and nor would I. It's just it looks too questionable, the payment method. I don't know. I just you look at AliExpress and there's some things that are really cheap, but you have to. And this was last year, okay, so before any of this super tariff stuff went in, and by the time you do the math, you're paying 5% more just buying it through Amazon, and you have all the buyer protection. You got two Igos, two Type 94 tankettes, and one Hago. Igo, is that one we like? That's from the 57 millimeter. I think that's what it is. Classic looking Japanese thing. Yeah, I like the way that looks. I like the way it looks. The problem with it is finding something that balances out them fighting, because they either overpower things or they just it's a problem if they encounter something. If something like that encounters like a Matilda. I mean, Matilda. You think Matilda's a queen of the battlefield in the desert? It's really the queen of the battlefield in the Pacific. As long as you can like not fight in a jungle, like there's nothing that can stop a Matilda in the other than like roots, uneven ground, roots, jungle vines. The Chinese are turds. They ship it to Mexico in bulk. Then Mexico breaks it down to avoid tariffs. Pretty much F China. Now there's like 10% extra charge on my packages from the UK now. I'm trying to figure out how much duties we pay for stuff from the US. If under 135 pounds, there's no charge. Yeah, I don't understand why there's any tariffs between the UK and I mean, the tariffs are really I guess, are to balance out, people making stuff super cheap and then you wouldn't have any industry here, okay? Things in the UK have to be made, at a standard of living that we kind of have, so it's like, you guys aren't going to be selling, a $10 item for 50 cents. You can't, so there's no reason to have any tariffs in the UK. Besides, like, we're buddies. Like, what the hell, But I don't know, I don't have a problem with Chinese people. It's just, their government, you know. So that's all kind of bullshit. Sao wouldn't be doing that crap. You due to go to the Philippines anytime soon? That's got to be a long ass flight. I think the Philippines actually have a pretty robust firearms industry. They had several plants. I don't actually. I think they do now that I think about it, but they manufacture a lot of 1911s there, and a lot of it has to do with basically when the U.S. had a was possession of the Philippines, they made a manufacturing facility there, and they continue making those there. I haven't shot any of those, but supposedly they're pretty reasonable. They're not like some other things you hear that are poor quality. Of course, that's probably one of those things that they make them there, they can export them there, but then the locals can't get them legally. So they can get them illegally because I think there's a lot of crime in the Philippines, isn't there? The NRA Chinese has some Vickers 6 tons and Panzer 1s, and that could balance out some of the Japanese tanks. Well, the important thing, Barnes, is not the cost, but that they're upfront with how much it is, so you could figure out whether it's worth it, right? Like I don't really care what the cost is, but like tell me up front, so we could do the math and realize whether or not it's something you're even willing to do, kind of thing. Like I've ordered from the UK many times, and I know it might be different now, but I've never paid. I've never paid. Surprise! We have this at your post office, but you got to give us such and such a money, or we're not going to release it to you. That's never happened. No Philippines this year, but next time I go, there's some tanks and artillery I want to see. Oh yeah, you got to go to that floating battleship place. That place looks cool. Is there any love lost between uh, the Filipinos and the Japanese? Because man, they got treated like crap by the Japanese. The Japanese treated everybody like crap, and I think the Chinese would do the same fucking thing. Maybe the Filipinos should take something over and see how they treat other people. Probably be better. I think the Japanese may have treated. Well, I'm not going to go there. It doesn't really matter. It's all bad. I was going to say Japanese might have treated people worse than the Germans, but I mean everybody that wasn't Jewish. The Japanese probably treated everybody worse than the Germans treated anybody that wasn't Jewish. I don't know, bad shit all around, but yeah, I would really like to find some jungle animals. Now I don't mean like poo throwing monkeys, although that would be funny. I'm talking about like a tiger, a panther, crocs, crocodiles. I'm sure they make some. I don't want to order a bunch of stuff just to find out that those don't work because they're all the sizing of those things is all over the place. Tedious, but this makes a big difference. And this is all the palm trees. So once these are painted, this is all the palm trees I have. Of course, I have some left over, but I will definitely have enough for those jungle things, and maybe even make a couple more. Royal Mail is setting up the system. Yes, Filipinos seem not to care much about the Japanese right now, but maybe it would be different if China wasn't trying to take their islands and get most of the hate. I can't find the maths on it here, really annoying. So the seller has to pay, not the buyer, but there's no real system for it. Yeah, I think that, as long as As long as you know up front, you can kind of do the maths. You want to like purchase it. Oh, by the way, this $20 thing with $7 shipping is now going to, instead of $27, is going to cost 64. Why? Well, there's all these tariffs that we didn't tell you about. Not cool. Be right back. I'm gonna go get some tea. Water buffalo too. Be great animals. Absolutely. 2 or 4. Yeah, the ones with the big Vietnamese type horns. You know which ones I'm talking about. The good looking ones. That's a good looking water buffalo, as opposed to like a Cape buffalo. Man, the palm trees look good. Sometimes you gotta like just step, and I still haven't done the grass on it yet. I'll show you here. Took a photo of the other desk. And that's just for the really tall parts of the jungle kind of thing. So they'll be in the middle. We'll have the scatter grass that we'll recoup afterwards to do the perimeter of the thing, and then we have lots of lichen. We've got 3 big bags of lichen to go in there. So I get this done, which I don't think I will. I think more realistic is maybe next weekend to get it done. I'll set up the island. I'll set up the kitchen island as the island, and then I figure out what I'm going to do for the airfield. It doesn't have to look really professional. It's just a worn out. Might just use felt and airbrush it and put some scrubbage on it. And I got a lot. Oh no, we're not putting that there. That's stupid. I got a few things made out of resin that are like sandbags and stuff. That might be next. I'm not in a huge hurry to paint the troops. I know when I got lots of guys I want to paint that I already have that are going to paint up really well. You know, one of the things is I've got these early war Americans. I got a squad that Marcus gave me of early war Americans in plastic that would be great, and then you could do something in the Philippines. So you could do or something, you know, early war, like you got the British tin helmet style headgear. Where I post all my miniature pictures on Facebook. That's what I use Facebook for, really. It's just easy to find there. Facebook you don't have to have a hosting site, and, you know, it does cool things like, you know, 4 years ago you were working on this. It does a lot of really cool things. You know, I don't go on there to, you know, get into fights with people about, you know, things that we have divergent opinions upon. I use it for hobby stuff, you know. Use a static grass applicator for the first time. Amazing results. Did you get one of them Chinese ones that shock you every time you use it? See, I've always used static grass and not used the static properties of it. So, you know, I'm using it wrong. And I think most people use it wrong. They don't buy that thing that you have to ground and then... Should I get one? And which one should I get? And should I get it through Amazon? Do they have it through? I'm sure they probably have a static grass applicator. Yeah, I mean, this shit looks really good. I know it's kind of lost because it's not in. And like this one isn't complete because we don't have the smaller plants on there. Generic mini static grass applicator. Well, I don't need static grass to go with it. Man, these price of these things is like mouse. I bought a mouse, right? I went to Best Buy. I'm like, I want a new mouse, so I'm using the 2 button mouse, right? And we're using it quite a bit. I went in there. They have mice from $20 to $200. And I don't know what the hell a $200 mouse does, but I picked it up and it seemed like a piece of shit. Because a big part of the mouse is, how do the buttons work and is it comfortable? Those $200 mice, I wouldn't want one for free. Cuts out use, cuts out use for excessive toughs. It'll pay for itself eventually. Have a Chinese one. They're kind of scary. The shock doesn't hurt, but I don't like being shocked. Yeah, you feel like you're doing something wrong, right? Find the legit brand, they last longer. Yeah, it was like that hot glue gun I got. There's a million hot glue guns. I just figured if I got one that was Gorilla, whatever the hell it's called, Gorilla Glue, it'll last longer and it won't like melt or something like that. I've had good results with it. I paid, $4 or $5 or $6 more just to get that one as opposed to, as I like to say, the Ching Chang Chung one. Tionic. I like these. Should be a list of these names of these. Generic $26.99. I don't think I would have bought. Yeah, look at this. $134. Like you could get one for like $13 or $124. That's a huge range. That's a huge range. And the woodland scenic stuff is really marked up really, really high. There's got to be something in between. Like, I don't need a name brand, but I don't want one that's not even tested out on people in the penal colony. You know what I mean? You can make oddly shaped grass tufts too with a static grass applicator. You wear a glove, I'm prone to shocks. Well, it just startles you. It doesn't hurt. Like if you know, okay, you're going to get 10 shocks in a row and they're going to start now. I'm sure you can handle it, but you just, you don't need to be flinching all the time. There was that one video that came out many years ago, and it was this video of like, hey, check out this car, and it was this video that's being filmed from like the top of a little hill, and there was a road that you're up on the hill, and there's a road down there, and the road disappears, and as soon as the road disappears, you're following this car. Somebody comes up to the screen, or it switches to another screen with like some like mask and a real loud sound, and like your your soul just jumps into somebody else's body, kind of thing. Like I didn't come here for that. Well, I got a hot wire cutter and it died on me, and it was not cheap. And I don't think I'm going to buy another one from. I don't know yet. I'm not going to buy one from Hot Wire Foam Factory because it's like $100. And I had it a long time, but I didn't use it a lot. If that makes any sense. Like, I got it like in 2004, and it died like a couple years, but I probably only used it on like 5 occasions. I'd probably use it a lot more now, but I had one that had them a handle, and it has the two prongs, and you could adjust the prongs. And in between the prongs, there's a wire, but it was moldable, so you could mold the wire into like, shaped like a U. And then when you go in, and it was tight enough, so you could come in and get it hot and like basically carve a trench through this, so to speak. And it worked really well, and it worked really fast, but like I wasn't building terrain at the time. So it might be something that I have a feeling I would get another brand that's less expensive. But that was in the infancy of the internet. I don't know if Amazon was even doing anything other than selling books at the time. But it came with like a transformer. The transformer is pretty decent size. I mean, it's like four by 6 or something like that, and maybe 4 inches deep. Plugs into that. I mean, the wire looks like it's made out of the wire that actually goes to the handle doesn't look like it's very durable. Everything else seems fine. It's like almost like a transformer for like a electric train set or something like that. Oh, the table ones. There's there's a couple videos of some people that have made their own using stuff. I gotta price that out. I might actually be tempted to do that. And using blocks of wood and drilling, stuff that you can see how they're building it. You're like, all right, that's within my skills, or you don't need to have some kind of radial saw to be able to make it. I didn't pick up any styrofoam this week. There's so much at work that there's so much styrofoam that's like, say, this size, okay? This is huge for what I need. Like, you can make lots of stuff with this. They get rid of stuff like this all the time, like on a daily basis. It would just be like, free for the taking. But I don't need to. We'll get it when we get to that point. But I don't have anything to cut it with other than an X-Acto knife, and that would make a fucking mess. I would have bought that airfield. What is that control building that Airfix makes? If it wasn't like so damn expensive, because that thing's apparently out of production, and it is. They're trying to sell it for a lot of cash on eBay. I don't know. It was probably something that went for $20 at one time. Proxon. That looks really that looks really high quality, man. Something like that. That looks really high quality. It's almost too nice, but it's also $156. Again, if it's something you use all the time, okay. Of course, there's the Temu variants. Sell it on whatever those Walmart is. Walmart trying to get into all this stuff. Used for $100. Look, the Walmart has the Temu version. I'd be half tempted to make one. I would want one that runs on batteries because then you're not worried about getting shocked, right? There's a big difference, okay? I don't play with electricity, okay? There's a big difference between putting a 9-volt battery up to your tongue and feeling that, or like something in a light socket, right? Like batteries, you got to have a lot of batteries to suffer any kind of damage, you know? So here's a gig for you, Hoffman. So I was looking in. Somehow I came across the idea that, or somehow I came across the fact that people that publish articles in some of these wargaming magazines get paid, and I'm like, I figured they would just give you like, if you publish a wargaming model article in one of these magazines, they give you like 10-year subscription or free subscription or something like that basically wouldn't cost you anything. And they actually pay you by the word. And it looks like, I actually did the math, they actually pay you pretty well. Obviously, if they take your article. The big annoying thing for me would be is you submit an article now and they edit it however they want to. And you don't know when the hell it's going to show up. I mean, you write it now. I'm all about immediate satisfaction. I don't want to like order something now and find out nobody's doing anything with it for 3 weeks, and then they'll put the order in, and the next thing you know, 3 months go by before I get it. Same thing. I wouldn't want to like write an article and then find out that it doesn't get published for like 6 months. It would just drive me crazy, right? But like War Game Soldiers and Strategy, man, they actually pay you. I don't think you can make a living of it, but it'd be enough to buy one of those things. I thought that was pretty interesting. I just wouldn't want to go. It involves writing, so I'm out. And I wouldn't want to like spend a lot of effort writing something and then realize that they edited all the stuff out that I really wanted to say. It bugged me. So, and for that reason, I'm out. I would rather make a video about something and not get any money for it and do it in my own way than have to jump through all these hoops and maybe get paid, but who knows when it comes out. That's just me. I think I mentioned in an article about the World War II stuff you're doing. Once you're done, I would like to write about it in a wargaming article. Okay. Only reason, only reason I do this now is just for company. And the only reason I even bring up other things that might help you guys is just to help you guys. Because, look, I have gotten all kinds of ideas from the internet. I have. My wargaming abilities have improved, not tenfold, but triple. They've probably gotten triple better just from having access to other people's ideas. So that we're all moving forward. We're all getting better. There's no point we're all inventing the wheel at the same, in different places. Well, I don't mind giving away all my secrets because look, I've gotten secrets for free and not paid that person anything. So, pay it forward. Maybe it'll keep somebody from, getting stuck on something and not realizing, like, oh, I don't know about these plastic palm trees. They don't work. Well, they work just fine. All you got to do is just put some TLC in it and they turn out just fine. God, there's a lot of these little bastards. But I just hate to. I mean, I write a fair amount on a daily basis through emails, and people just don't read your shit. Sometimes they do. They read what they want. They don't read what they don't want. It's like, it's like being silenced. So it's like, if I'm going to waste my time doing something, I'm going to do this. Or, do something fun, not something I don't enjoy. Now, these would probably be dry enough to go to the next step in about 4 hours for sure. This is really the only part that takes a while because after that, you just dry brush these things and you're pretty much good to go. I haven't sealed any of them until the very end. I did the first batch. I just give up on doing that. We'll seal them when they're on the actual stands. I mean, this acts kind of like a sealer. I mean, we washed the palm trees. We added this brown wash. How far have you gotten up that cards game? What rank are you? It ends in like 30 hours or something like that. I see that they nerfed the commandos in an update, but that it wasn't. I don't think it's enough of a nerf to dissuade people from using them. Although I haven't seen them as often. The only bad thing about the bamboo is I think all the bamboo I bought is only going to be good for that one stand. So that's pretty expensive. It's going to look superb, but that's pretty expensive. It just means I'm not going to have a ton of bamboo. I mean, I might have it in like a couple places and that's it. You can't have like as much bamboo as the palm trees. It just costs too much money. You're talking about $400 worth of bamboo. Maybe adding a piece every year or something like that. Okay. Ducks have seen mostly as really aggressive Soviet decks. What about the you're ranked 16 and stuck at 16? Yeah, well, just make sure you cut in whatever level you're at. You can get the dividends. Doesn't matter whether you're the top of a tier or the bottom. You're still going to get the same payout. The Russian aggressive deck. Yeah, there's that one Russian. What's that Cholm unit that costs 0 to move it forward? That's a popular one. I've seen the Japanese tank rushes have been, but I don't mind those decks because they're actually combat. The commando stuff is just ridiculous. I'm not saying commandos suck or anything like that. I'm just saying that you're basically winning a war with just commandos, going this asymmetrical to the extreme. They have this German unit they love. They love putting down, and it's some German unit that I think when it puts on the field, it can turn like one unit into routed troops or something like that. So when that comes on the field, I always like, it's like a 6/6. It's like a 6/6 with like an operational cost of 1 or 2. And I like dropping that thing on there that basically turns their operational cost to 6 and their combat is 2. I can always see the sad face on the person that you're fighting. Oh man. Current deck, like you said, got a nerf now. Only British orders cause it do damage now. Yeah, that's a favorite one. The fins, those damn suicide CC things, those were popular a couple of months ago, and people realize that you just can do stuff that just does 1 damage to everybody. Can just pretty much put them in their place. What's this go to? It's like a rifle or something. We'll put it over here just in case. All right, it's bamboo. Time to get bamboozled. Yeah, it's like a Panzer Grenadier or some shit like that. They love doing that one. The game is pretty balanced. That you could hold on to some cards that are relatively cheap and really ruin somebody's day. I remember somebody had like a Pershing or something like that. They dropped like a Pershing on me, which is like an 8 or a 10 value card, heavy tank. And they dropped like all these other things that made it like a 20 attack or something like that. And then I ended up dropping this thing on it. It was like, it cost 2 or 3, and you could cause 2 damage to, it was a British card. You can do like 2 damage to any unit or just kill a tank. So it doesn't matter what the tank is, it just knocks down. It's like, you just spent, I don't know, 15 points on putting this thing out there, and I just with 3 just killed it. But you got to have that card. You can't have too many of one card because then you can't play other stuff. It's just, I don't really enjoy making the decks. I enjoy playing the game and making the decisions. I enjoy looking at the cards. I don't enjoy trying to figure out, all right, well, we need a third of the deck needs to be that's not me. That's too much big battle DBA crap. That's a bunch of pre-planning and then things go south. All right. This is the soft bamboo that goes towards the outside, so we don't care about that right this moment. Okay? This is more of the soft one that goes on the edges. It's super bendy. Okay, we've got a field of the clippings. Okay, this is what we're at on these big ones. There's another soft one. Let's see what we're sitting. Smells like red china. I had not washed these. This would take a while to dry. I got lazy. I'm like, no, we're not gonna wash these. We'll be all right. New Air Supremacy update is really small. I think each major nation get like 2 or 3 new plans. That's it? Oh, did it already come out? Wow, this one's really like hard. Not bendy at all. I mean, there's wire in there. Haven't looked into it. Another bendy joker. I don't hate any of the cards. I just hate people that just always do the same shit and don't want to experience different things by only playing a certain way. Oh, I only play Space Marines. You don't play anybody else? No. They're stupid. All right. Well, I don't like playing just one way. Since Thursday, I've been working on some removal debris. Cutting foam bricks hasn't been too fun. Talk about tedious. Talk about tedious. Now, I came across a card the other day I didn't have, and it's kind of cool. It's like an American way of life or something like that, or I'd never seen it before. Let's see. I can never remember where this is at. Collection. And I like that they let you see all the cards you don't have, so you can make them or whatever. Yeah, Pershing is a 10. I've never seen this Yank card. Your HQ gets this battle. The first time you develop each turn, you also develop a retribution. I've never played any of the developed stuff. I love the USS Yorktown card where you get to fill the first rank full of buffaloes. I like the Mitchell. Shows up on the field, does 3 damage to a random enemy. Where is this American one? I just saw it for the first time. And I tend not to like the cards where you have to play a card to get a pick of like a certain one of three cards to bring in. So you're basically like, you made me spend points to get something else that I'll have to spend points on. It just seems kind of wasteful. Wow, why can't I find this one? Here it is, Land of the Free. I'd never seen Land of the Free before. Reduce the operation of a target unit to 0. Like, that's something to have good towards the end of the game, but. And I hate attacking. I just. I feel like it's. You get like one less card, or maybe even get two less cards, and you have to go for. It's like. I'd rather defend every time. I feel like the balance on that is all wrong. Yeah, this card. And it's like a wreckage of. Oh no, it's not. It's not a wreckage. It's like factories or something. Yeah, it's kind of a. I've been trying to make a Yamamoto Davy deck. I would like a good plain deck for the Japanese. Well, the zero's handy because you come in and you do one attack to somebody. The P-51 is a great card, though. You show up and you basically eliminate. It's rare that the enemy has more than one, that you encounter more than one aircraft at a time. It's rare. Oh, okay. We need to put the ones that go towards the outside in a different place. Yeah, I had to clear my. I had to clear my deck. All right. So let's. Some of these are one-sided. I don't have to do that. I just choose. Here's another one. It's one-sided. I have about 8 or so. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna come when we come across them. We'll move them over here to the end. All right. Let's get our relatively new X-Acto knife. Drop the cost to 0. What is it? A 4 now or something? Oh, you know which card I hate? I don't even know how to stop it, honestly. That damn comet. That ME 163 comet. You drop it, and it shows up. It goes off away from the deck, and it comes back every turn and attacks the headquarters for 4 damage or something like that. That is an annoying fucking card. And then there's some cards that are like, as soon as they get played, you got to go out and eliminate them. Like there's a German card. I think it's a Panther. There's one Panther card that as soon as you play that thing, says your enemy can't deploy any troops on the front. If this thing moves to the front line, your enemy can't deploy any troops. I'm like, that's a fucking problem. That is a problem. Is that how I did that, or did I put these in with no? Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even put a hole in it. I'm forgetting how I'm doing things. Yeah, something like that shows up. You got to eliminate that. Like you can't. You're not going to win the game not putting troops down. But you got to have a mix of different things. I've seen a lot of people that don't seem to buy any airplanes. I think I'm not interested in not having any airplanes because there might be something on the backfield that you need to reach. And the only way you can reach it is by having air power. Man, we're going to have so many fronds. But I wouldn't play the game if it didn't have that artwork. It's really all about the artwork. Yeah. Once we get to these, yeah, they'll be. That actually even go in. They'll be fine. They'll be fine on the outside. That's about how much of a space I want around it. Maybe half an inch. So we're gonna fill the rest of this up all the way to that. Been playing Hearts of Iron 3 and they give you some downloadable artwork. I don't like that scale of a game. That's the Europa Universalis type of game, right? Where you tell that guy, "Hey, go to this zone," and then when he's 95% of the way there, he gets attacked for a different thing, and all that time you're watching him trying to almost get there, he's got to go back, and it's a little too pull the rug out from under you kind of thing. I don't really like that type of gameplay. If that's what I'm thinking about. We talked about that BattleTech game, right? The BattleTech game by Harebrained Studios or whatever. The artwork in that is incredible. I don't know who the artist is. They need an award named after them. That is some incredible artwork. It's science fiction. I'm not even into science fiction. It's incredible. It looks like an oil painting. I like oil painting looking things. That has some beautiful artwork in it. Almost everything in that game, the loading screens and stuff, and the storyline, if you're playing through the storyline of the game, absolutely gorgeous artwork in that game. As a matter of fact, speaking of beautiful art, there is a digital artist. I think it is I think she's Korean, that I came across her on Facebook or something like that, and she does lots of different things, but a lot of it involves like girls and their pets, and it's none of it is inappropriate or adult themed or anything like that. It's actually very innocent, and it's very, I don't know, maybe because I have a daughter. It's very neat the way she does it, and her art style is incredible. I'll have to send you know what, I'm gonna do that right now. Her name's Yao something or another, and the artwork she does is beautiful, and it's all digital, but it's beautiful, and she's on Facebook. Yeah, yeah. The artwork in here is. Let me send this to you. Let's see. I'm following her. Okay, so just send me the. Yep, follow. Let's go here. And how do I do this? Let's see. Um, Share profile, block, search, copy link. There we go. All right, so then we're going to go to Samaman. Check this artist out. Wholesome. It's really well done. it's basically the first thing. It's the first thing I thought of that I didn't poo poo digital artist because it looks like real artwork. Like it looks like it's really really good. I mean, I wish they made like anime that looked like that. And it's almost always, her and a dog, her and a cat. The shadow on it is really good. It's like animation. Some of it is like oil painting. Just, she's really, really talented. You know, I mean, the girls she uses are cute. The animals are cute. One movie I saw a long time ago. I think I've watched the whole thing, and I didn't care for it. I watched it at the wrong time. Is Empire of the Sun. Empire of the Sun. I went and clicked on. I don't know how I came across it, but has some Japanese tanks. And I don't know if they're accurate or not. I might actually watch. That would have been a good movie to watch with my daughter while she was here, but she'll be back. I don't have a lot of motivation to watch stuff by myself. Yeah, this is a slow process, but I think this is going to look superb. Oh, there's another endish piece. They're going to be there's going to be like at the end of like the ones that are like tall, and then we'll have these guys on the end. Well, yeah, it's really cool, man. It's really really it's really some of it is like oil painting, some of it is like animation. Like I'd watch a show that had that kind of animation. That has good, really good animation. I don't like most animation because I don't like the style it's done in. There's I don't like animation that's like from the 1980s and it looks like all out of like faded out looking. Some of the modern stuff is okay, but don't really care for the subject matter. There was this place that we used to go to frequently 10 years ago, probably, and it was one of those yogurt fill in your cup however you want and they weigh it and that's how much you charge you place. The place was called Mochi. And they would have mochi things and they had this soft serve yogurt with like fruit and stuff like that and they would always have this anime playing in the background. I don't know what the hell the anime is, but it had like this death creature in it or whatever. It wasn't like scary, but it looked like a death type ghost thing, whatever. I don't know what the hell it was, but they were always playing in the background. No sound. Don't know what it was. I like the style that the art was done in. This the subject matter was like something that just not doesn't appeal to me. I've been in Japanese war propaganda films lately. Black and white stuff, so nothing to recommend. Like the films, a lot of them are filmed on location with real tanks and infantry. I like that one that comes across, and I've seen it a couple times. It has like Roosevelt. I've never seen it before. It was a Japanese one with like Roosevelt. It's pretty funny looking. Oh, there's always the one with like his like grubby hands, but this one, I just thought it was funny. I like most propaganda art. I like the style that it's done in, generally speaking. I've never seen this one before. That's funny. I'm watching this one called Biography of Tank Commander. Lots of good tanks, location shots. Have you seen this 1/72nd small company called New Model? I don't think so. Let's see. Let's look it up right now. 1/72nd. Oh, you edited one. I'm like, no, and I'm not getting a hit on it either. NU new model. No. Okay, here it is. New model, affordable. If I put 1/72nd in front of it, I didn't find it. Creates high quality, affordable 1/72 scale figures, models, dioramas, such in German soldiers. All right, let's go to the store. See what you guys make. Accept. Oh yeah, I did see this the other day. Yeah, these must be brand new. The pricing on them isn't great, but it looks pretty good. All right, let me check this Chinese Civil War one. Looks pretty fucking good. It looks pretty friggin' good. What do you think of new model box art? A bit retro, but I kind of like it. I I kind of like it. A Thailand tank? Well, the only friends the Japanese had. Man, they make a lot of hagos. I wish they weren't $20. There's a lot to like here. There's a lot to like here. Man, the hagos are so freaking cute. They're cuter than a Stewart. German astronaut Raumwaffe. World War II Burmese tiger ambush. Okay, well now we're talking. Down, kitty, kitty. Okay, what else you make like that? Japanese air crew. Japanese IGA versus PLA battle kit Blades of Honor. So they're all in close combat. That's pretty cool. I don't know how durable those things would be. They look a little too shaped to the right size. In other words, trying realistic shape. Might have cankle issues with the ankles breaking off. No, I've never heard of this stuff before. Looks great though. It's AI art. I found out how they make it, so I've been making some good pictures with that style in it. Yeah, I kind of like it. It looks like an older model kit style. Um, I kind of like it. Yeah, box art when you're a kid, man, it's a big part of getting something. I remember getting one of these. Many model kits I bought because of the box art on it as a kid. You know, the MPC kits that we had in the '80s. They had some great box art, and it was for whatever reason it was different. It was different than the regular Airfix art, and in my opinion, I thought it was actually better than the Airfix art. Not that the Airfix art is necessarily bad. I'm just looks really good. They have 13 Hago models. I guess they like the Hagos even more than I do. Yeah, when I do tanks, probably gonna try to see if I can talk Don into doing the Japanese tank lines. I got two. I got a, I want to say a Teikei. It's cute. It's really cute. It's a good looking tank. It almost looks like a T60. A T60 Soviet tank, something like that. Let's cut this level down and put this up against it. Guild ice. 8. I gotta go to little boy's room. I'll be right back. Yeah, that tiger ambush, man. That's got me written. That's got me written all over it. Bad kitty. Careers. No open position. Whole tank destroyer prototype model. German checkpoint. Look at the guy with glasses. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess somebody had to like Hagos more than I did. Oh, they're a crap tank, but they look good. They look good being a crap tank. All right, we're gonna do a couple more of these. What time is it? And then we're gonna go fly some skies. Like I like to mix it up and do a couple different things. I do this in a long session. My whole weekend will be gone. Although this is a long weekend, we should be on here tomorrow morning and Monday morning. One of the few days we get off without having to take a day off is Labor Day. And then we'll set this off to the side and we'll work on the palm. We'll do the palm tree, trunks. Might have to watch my video to find out exactly what colors I used. Although I'm pretty sure it's. I don't remember which colors I used for the trunk. It might have been these two, and then add a little bit of white. I think that's what I used. I want to stick to the same. I'm really happy with how they turned out because they're fairly gray looking. Now, is this another style? Yeah, I mean, these are really tall. Might actually have to save these and make two of them to make smaller ones towards the edge. I was playing some British plane that was just god awful. And I was surprised how bad it was. I know, it was not built out. It was a bomber. It was a Buford, or no, it wasn't a Buford that goes and attacks ships. That thing's badass. It's got a lot of cannons, but I don't think it was the Blenheim. I think it was an early Buford. It was just there's nothing to do on it. It didn't have any guns I could fire. It didn't have a good payload. Didn't have a lot of defensive guns. Hey, you go in and fight the defensive guns, but then the plane's flying straight. All right. So we're going to cut off. We'll probably see you guys tomorrow morning. And you guys enjoy your